Sorry, Mike. It's 11 o'clock on a Tuesday. We're recording this. That's what you get when you do that stuff late at night. But again, Justin Coffin, Greg Kirchner. I'm in the Youngstown, Ohio area. Greg's down in the Columbus area. But we're going to talk all things Ohio State and college football this weekend. A look real quick at Youngstown State as well, being a Youngstown based podcast. We want to touch on the Penguins a little bit, but again, we're going to get into all things college football here in just a second. So to start off, let's start with the Youngstown State Penguins. They unfortunately fell to the number 2 ranked South Dakota State Jackrabbits last weekend. They were up 14-0 early in that game. South Dakota State went on a 21-0 run in the third quarter, and that pretty much doomed YSU. They made a valiant comeback, but fell short 35-30. Bo Brungard, once again, 405 total yards, 4 TDs total. Max Tomczak, former guest of the podcast here, 8 receptions, 92 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And by the way, Max Tomczak is on the all-senior watch list for the Senior Bowl this year. So a possible another NFL wide receiver coming out of Youngstown to head to the NFL. So we wish the Penguins good luck. They will be up next at North Dakota. The Fighting Hawks, they are both 3-2 on the season. YSU, that's a tough bounce back game to travel out there, but we'll see what they're made of this week. Let's talk Buckeyes, and they had once again a dominant win, 42-3 over Minnesota, and actually Minnesota was up in this game 3-0, and then so Ohio State pretty much went on a 42-0 run to win that game, and their quarterback Lindsey had a great first drive. They couldn't finish it off with a touchdown, and pretty much was shut down the rest of the game there. But you can see the scores. Texas 14-7. That game might not look quite as impressive now. Grambling 70-0. Okay, FCS, whatever. Ohio this weekend lost to Ball State, I think, but that was still a big win, 37-9. The Washington win, I think, still looks pretty good, 24-6, and Minnesota 42-3. All things in common, no team has scored more than 9 points on the Buckeyes this season. They go to Illinois this week. We'll talk about that game in a minute. But Greg, overall thoughts from Buckeyes' dominant performance on Saturday night in the show?
Yeah, common theme, like we said, just absolute dominant defense. And Julian saying in this passing game, just getting more and more confident, getting better and better. It was really nice to see Carnell Tate kind of have a breakout game, and show his worth as we know. I mean, and he's ascending up the board of top receivers coming out in the draft to the point where he could be a first-round pick. We just talked about the Browns and their 2 first-round picks, and Carnell Tate might be in the mix for as we go into next April. But things are progressing along exactly the way you'd like to see during a season. We're not taking anything for granted. We're not taking the foot off the gas. We are competing like hell. You could just tell by Brian Day and his post-game comments, just the attention to detail on this team, calling out a few plays that were made during the game that we have to clean up. And it's just like, when you look at a lot of teams that we're going to talk about that have not had a good go of things so far this year, that were, highly ranked in the preseason. We have just done everything that we've needed to do every step of the way along the season, and it's been fun to watch. And you just look forward to what's to come with this team, and the sky is absolutely the limit with this team.
They're just getting better every week.
Yeah.
The improvement is there. Seems like they're opening it up a little bit more. The young guys are getting more confident. But yeah, this team just seems to be, like you said, the sky's the limit. And is it possible to say the defense is even better than last year?
I mean, I think it's possible. It's early, but I think it's possible to start having the conversation. Is this one of the best defenses that we've had in the last 30 years?
The last ever.
Yeah, possibly the last ever. But yeah, again, pumping the brakes, especially
Right.
with like what we saw out of Texas. That Washington offense was pretty damn good. But just to be able to the consistency, the different looks, and the comments that kind of opposing coaches are making after games about the complexity of the scheme, combined with just how good the players are and how much talent there is. It's just, I think Fleck said it's the best defense he's seen in 13 years. It just feels kind of magical on that side of the ball, and it's starting to get magical on the offensive side of the ball. But again, we've been through this. It's not our first rodeo with sports and football and everything, and you kind of know that, you want to temper that excitement a little bit and know we got big games coming up and things can change, on a dime, as we've seen throughout college football this year. But as it's going right now, you could not have drawn up a better result to date, kind of than what we've been able to put out there. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, this team is just so loaded, and they're so loaded at every position. The offensive line is great. The defensive line is great. The linebackers are great. The running backs are good. In the secondary is probably the best in the country. Julian Sand continues to get better and better and better every week. He's the most efficient quarterback in the country. You're starting a true freshman running back that's, he's averaging like 8.5 yards a carry, something like that. You have the best 1-2 wide. You might have the best 2 receivers in the country on your team.
Yeah,
I think you could probably in the Big Ten. There might be an argument. The USC receiver, I think his name's like Lemon, and then Boston from Washington is really good. But I don't know. I know you can't name a better duo in the country, but you might be hard pressed to say Carnell Tate to put anybody ahead of him right now. Maybe when it comes to the draft and intangibles and all this, and that somebody that runs a 4.2 later on might go a little bit higher. But right now, for the system he's in, the offense he's in, the quarterback that's throwing him the ball, the offensive line that's protecting him, and I didn't even mention the tight ends. The tight ends are about as deep as it gets too. Yeah. Again, look at Julian Sand's numbers: 23 of 27, 326. So this team, where I think you could say maybe they were a step back from last year, at least through the first 4 games, was the explosive plays. You didn't see a ton of explosive plays. But this game, they showed they can, do pretty much whatever they want, whenever they want. The play that stands out to me was the fake handoff to Jeremiah Smith, and he literally took 4 defenders. I think he took 2 defensive linemen, a linebacker, and a safety with him, and that set up that moon ball from Julian Sand to Carnell Tate, which Carnell Tate makes things look so easy too. He's a hands catcher, which is him and Smith really are both hands catchers, which is refreshing to see. That's kind of fundamentally how you're taught as a young kid. Yeah. But a lot of people, even high level NFL guys, use their body to kind of cradle it in. But these guys have their hands out in front of them, strong hands. They're getting 2 feet in when they only need to get 1 foot, and it's just unbelievable what they're doing. And then on the defensive side, I can't even name a defensive MVP so far, because you have probably the best defensive player in the country in Caleb Downs. You have maybe the player that NFL scouts like the most in this coming draft in Arvell Reese. And then you just have a whole host of other guys that are really, really, really good. I think you're replacing 8 starters off of that team last year, including the entire defensive line. But Caden Curry stepped up. He's been great. Kenyatta Jackson, who played a ton last year, is really good. Bo Atkinson is doing great. Zion Grady's a true freshman from Alabama that's playing minutes on this really good team. And then defensive tackles, Caden McDonald looks like the best in the country. He looks like what's his name from Georgia that now plays for the Eagles. Can't even think of his name, but
yeah. Oh gosh, duh.
Jaden Davis, right?
No, no. Gosh, why am I blanking? Spitting Dak's face. Yeah, look at
Jordan Davis. Jordan Davis.
Jalen Carter and Jordan. Okay, you're talking Jalen Carter, Jordan. Yeah,
Take your pick with
either or.
yeah. Take your pick. I mean, they look just like, and then all the, I'm not even mentioning Sonny Styles or Jalen McClain or Jermaine Matthews, who's going to be an NFL player, Davison Igbinosun, who might be a first rounder, second round pick. He did get away with the penalty last weekend, but he still is. He's doing a hell of a job, and he's great in the run against the run too. So, I mean, it's kind of like what was Nick Gilbert used to say, "What's not to like?" So,
yeah, it's an embarrassment of riches, but it is incredibly enjoyable right now. And, let's just keep this thing going.
Absolutely.
Keep this thing going. And, again, it's just that the excitement week to week is just, it's awesome. And especially when we talk about the Browns and the other show, and this is the antithesis of that. So it's great.
So, I mean, you look at the schedule, you're through 5 weeks. You got 7 games left at Illinois, at Wisconsin, home for Penn State, who's not even ranked anymore. We're going to get to that in a minute. At Purdue, home for UCLA, home for Rutgers, and at Michigan, which obviously we know is going to be a challenge regardless of what their record is. So Illinois and Michigan are your only 2 ranked teams on your schedule left. Penn State, I think, is going to get back into the top 25. That was a penalty for losing to a god-awful UCLA team, and a team that looked like that was coached by, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, looked like Joffrey Lannister was calling the plays, Neuheisel's son there.
I was thinking Ronnie Sunshine Bass from.
That's a good one too. That's a good one. That might even be a better one there. But yeah, I mean, this team is just so loaded, but it's so much fun to watch week in, week out. And people get frustrated with this team when they are not perfect, which is, that's when you have a great team. But I'm going to show you, I'm going to pull up last week's games and some of the performances and just some of the notes from it. Obviously, the game in the Big Ten that stands out, the shocker at the Rose Bowl, 0-4 UCLA beats number 7 Penn State 42-35. And, I'm sure a lot of people have heard the stat already. That was the first 0-4 or worse team to beat a top 10 opponent since 1985. So going back 40 years. So unbelievable stuff there. But what that shows me, and like Texas losing to Florida and, just some other games out there, like, Florida State we thought was back. Now they lose to Miami. They lost to Virginia. It's like, do we give Ryan Day enough credit? Like, not me and you, but as a fan base, do we give him enough credit for what he has actually done? The guy is 75-10. I think he's like 51-1 versus unranked opponents, which obviously the one loss was to Michigan last year. That one will always be a blemish on the record, but
yeah,
he just does not lose games he should not lose. And in most big games, he wins them too. So he does everything that's asked. And then some. He has his team ready to play basically every week. There's a few games maybe like, all right, they could have woke up a little bit earlier. I think we saw that a little bit in the first quarter last week. But what do you think? Like, do we give Ryan Day enough credit?
Probably not. And I think, and we always talk about the few games too, the Georgia game, obviously that we lost, the Clemson game that we had the overturned fumble recovery, things like that, to where that 75-10 could be like 77-8 or 78-7 or something, just absolutely absurd. But yeah, I think what we don't give him enough credit for is that 51-1 and that always being ready and always having the team ready, because it really games like Saturday night, and games like, those road conference games, not this Illinois game, but like a road conference game like against Purdue coming up, where you're going to have a tendency to maybe overlook that game or maybe sleepwalk into that game. What Penn State dealt with, getting basically shell shocked in that UCLA game.
Yeah.
A lot of that really comes down to coaching and preparation and focus on that week's opponent. And that is something, it doesn't grab the headlines, but that is something, and those are thankless wins because
Yeah.
you're supposed to win. Nobody's going to pat you on the back for winning them, but you're sure as hell going to get run through the ringer for losing them.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the games that we just show up for and win. And I can't remember, outside of the Michigan game last year and some of maybe the bigger games where we've struggled, but playing really good opponents. I can't remember there being a game against a team that we're significantly favored in where we came out and it was just like, man, we just didn't even show up, or we didn't look like we were ready to play at all. And that's not going to be perfect, but you look back at Urban Meyer had kind of the opposite problem. We would lose games like that. So I say, to go back to your question, Day does not get credit for being able to just take care of business in those games that you're supposed to win them and leave no doubt, go out there and win the game. And it's just it's that attention to detail every week. And it's cliche, but we're focused on the next opponent. We're not looking beyond that. Do you really get that feeling?
Yeah. And when you're coaching 18 to 22-year-olds, 23-year-olds, that's easier said than done, to have them all focused. To give you a couple of perspectives too. So Ryan Day, 75-10 overall, 51-1 versus unranked opponents, which means he is 24-9 against the top 25 and he's got an above 500 record against top 10 opponents. To compare to some of the top head coaches in the game, James Franklin, who might be on his way out, he is 128-58. He is 15-28 versus the top 25. Versus the top 10, he is 4-21. Kirby Smart. Now, Kirby Smart has the edge on Ryan Day right now because he has 2 national titles, where Ryan Day is trying to equal him and Dabo Swinney. Kirby Smart is at 109-20. He is 1-7 against Bama. Now, I know Ohio State has had the Michigan trouble the last couple years, but 1-7 versus Bama. That one win, ironically, was in the national championship game. I think you mentioned that previously. But Kirby Smart is 38-17 otherwise against top 25. Pretty damn good. Look up to our friends up north, Sharon Moore. In his first 16 games, he's 10-6. He is four losses away from Ryan Day in about 75 less games. And then, I'll get the pushback if any Michigan fans end up seeing this, be like, oh, well, what's his record against, Sharon Moore? They're like, you know what? Screw Sharon Moore. We're going to see him in November again. Too. Dabo is 174-44, 2 national titles. But again, his record is good, not great. Dan Lanning, again, 45-6 overall, 11-6 versus the top 25, and he's 3-3 against the top 10. So these are just some of the best coaches in college football. And Ryan Day is if he's not the top guy right now, he's right there. And Kirby Smart and Georgia they're good. They're still really good, but they're not elite right now. And that is one thing with this Ohio State program, knock on wood, but they don't have the ebbs and flows like these other schools do. Sometimes Alabama might be the top dog. For a long time, Alabama was the top dog. Then Clemson became the top dog. Then Georgia became the top dog. But who was right there all the time with them? Ohio State is always right there. Yeah. So that is one thing, if you can say nothing else for this Ohio State team, they are extremely consistent. And they just year in and year out put the best product on the field. And, we are spoiled as fans. And I think I'm one of them at times that is a little bit like, I feel like an entitled brat sometimes, because it's like, we get what we want. We have all the presents under the Christmas tree. You know what I mean? Like, we have everything we want from this team, but like when we don't get maybe the exact perfect outcome we want, we complain about it sometimes. And I guess for nothing else, that makes them interesting week in and week out. But so.
Yeah, and when you take care of business in the games that you should win, especially in this new format, you're going to be putting yourself in the playoffs almost every single year. And when you do that, more often than not, you're probably going to end your season losing a game, because that's just how it goes. You're not going to win the title every year, and you're going to be facing a bunch of teams in the top 10, top 5, or whatever. But the point is, you're giving yourself a shot every year, and you're getting to that level and playing the best of the best, and earning your right to have an opportunity to win a national championship every year. Obviously, you're not going to win it every year, but what more can you ask at the end of the day than to be, one of those 12 teams when the dust settles, to have that opportunity? And if you could do that, and I think we would have been in that spot, the last however many years, right? It's almost every year in the last 10, 15 years.
Every year since the 4-team playoff every year since 2014, Ohio State would have been in if they were a top 8 team. So if they had 8 teams in every year, they would have been in. So
unbelievable.
An amazing run, and hopefully it continues for a long, long, long time. So but you look at last week's games. You had Florida State go down, you had Texas go down, you had Notre Dame won comfortably, but that was kind of a game for a while. Virginia almost lost last week. Penn State obviously loses big last week. Well, they were down big and ended up making it close, but just some unbelievable stuff. And Ohio State is as consistent as it gets, and that's just like the greatest thing about this program. And as you mentioned, I'm going to bring this back up. PJ Fleck said that's the best defense I've seen in 13 years. And Ohio State's defense giving up 5 points per game. You know how much a touchdown's worth? If you know football, it's worth 6. So 5 points a game. 7, 0, 9, 6, 3. You add that up, that equals 5. When you do the math on the average. So pretty.
And you add that up, it's 25 points. Penn State allowed 27 in the first half to UCLA.
Yeah. And Jim Knowles, we love what Jim Knowles did here for Ohio State, but that Matt Patricia hire looks better and better every damn day. So, all right, let's take a quick look at our opponent this week. We got Burt Bielema coming up. I almost put up the graphic, the old Burt and Ernie graphic, but looking at their schedule, Western Illinois is a terrible FCS team. Duke, that game was actually closer than that score indicated. Western Michigan's not a very good team. They shut them out, so you got to give them credit there. And then they just got their doors blown off by Indiana. I think they were an 8.5 point underdog in that game, and they lose by 53. USC, they came back and won that game. That was a big noon game on September 27th, and that game basically saved their season because they're coming off of that huge loss, and then that kind of kept them alive. Last week against Purdue, Purdue's way better than they were last year. They're still not a very good Big Ten team, but Purdue put up 27 on them. So I can tell you what, Ohio State, I don't know what their defense is going to do, but I can tell you Ohio State is going to put up some points, and they're not going to give up a ton of points this week. So the spread, I'm looking at it, is only 14.5, which kind of surprised me. I thought it would be more closer to like 18, 19, but I guess it's still over 2 touchdowns for a road game in the Big Ten, a ranked team. So your thoughts on the Illinois Fighting Illini as we head into a big noon game this weekend?
Yeah, this is a good, I say this is a good football team. I don't think it's a great football team. Looking at the start of the season, I think a lot of people thought they would be the Indiana of this season, and it turns out that Indiana's looks like they're going to be the Indiana of the season.
Yeah, right.
But one thing, and I know, again, we talked about the focus of this team and the focus of the coaching staff, but as a fan base too, as we look at this game, you see that 63-10 game against Indiana, and I think the tendency might be to say like, oh God, like we're gonna kill this team, and hopefully we do. But we know anomalies happen, right? That game got away from them.
Well, look no further than last year too. Nebraska got their doors blown off by Indiana, and then we were in a one-score game at home against Nebraska.
Yeah. So I guess where I'm going with this is still a good football team that is worth our attention and is getting our attention. And it's the first time we played in Champaign in 10 years. So therefore, it's the biggest game. And I mean, this is what part of what being Ohio State is. Therefore, it is the biggest game in Champaign in 10 years. So the campus is going to be fired up. The crowd's going to be fired up. And it's going to be a tough road environment. Like we've talked about with the Washington game, getting off to a good start is important, but you can't take a game like this for granted because this team is capable of giving us a ball game. Frankly, if we allow it to happen, because games like this and honestly in most of the rest of our schedule with the talent on this team, our toughest opponent is ourselves in games like this and not playing up to our standard and looking past the game or whatever. So as long as we don't do that, I think we'll be fine. But I do just want to say that this is 17th ranked team in the country. They had one just god awful terrible game. Good football team.
Yeah. They have
and say what you want about Bielema. We like to joke about him.
Yeah,
I mean, he's pulled upsets in his career. He's had some success in these type of situations. Maybe not to this extreme. So show up, take care of business trip out there. Don't like I said, I belabor it, but don't. The longer you let them feel like they're in the game and have a chance, the tougher that game's going to be. So get off to a good start, which we're now like 2 weeks. I guess if we're going to nitpick anything, we're 2 weeks now. We haven't gotten off to the
little bit of slow start.
Weeks, so clean that up, get those first points on the board, and just go from there. And this defense is done everything asked of them all year, kind of except for the big turnover. And maybe this is the week we get the big turnover.
Nice.
Call
your shot.
Yeah.
Let's see it. Let's get a pick six or a fumble recovery for a TD in this game. That'd be great. That would definitely flip that. If you're betting the Buckeyes 14.5, that would be a great way to cover that spread. We'll see what happens. But this is a very good football team. They were a good football team last year. Beat South Carolina in the bowl game. Again, had the major hiccup against Indiana. But don't look past this team. Just take care of business, and you'll be. If we take care of our business, we'll be fine. Buckeyes, again, I didn't realize this series has not been played that long. Since 1989 was the first game to now. And as Greg mentioned, we haven't played there in about a decade. 2017 was the last game we have played against them because in the 2020 COVID season, that game was canceled because a bunch of players and coaches even. I think actually Larry Johnson was supposed to be the head coach in that game because Ryan Day had COVID that week. And a bunch of Buckeyes and some Illinois guys had COVID. So it was just like wild stuff to even have to reference that. But Buckeyes lead the series 18-8. And Ohio State is looking to win its 10th straight in the series. So that is that for the week. Let's take a look at some of the best games of the week. As I mentioned, Buckeyes travel to Champaign. You got the Red River rivalry. Game might have a little bit of luster off it with Texas falling out of the top 25, but Oklahoma without Mateer is still number 6 in the country. That should be a really, really good game, no matter, throw the old adage, throw out the records. Indiana, Big Ten. This is the game of the week, in my opinion. Indiana at Oregon. Indiana, this is put up or shut up for Indiana. Show me what you're made of. Best two teams outside of Ohio State in the Big Ten currently. We'll see what this happens, but we know that record of like teams going from the East Coast out west don't fare so well. But I think it's like a 7.5 point spread or 8.5 point spread. Oregon is favored, so that should be a hell of a matchup. Two possible first round quarterbacks in that game there. So Browns fans, you might want to keep an eye on Indiana and Oregon and the quarterbacks in that game. NC State at Notre Dame. I'm actually going to be at that game this weekend, so I'm looking forward to that. Michigan at USC. I think that is going to be a hell of a game. That line's like USC -2.5. You got Georgia at Auburn, Arkansas at Tennessee, Florida at Texas A&M. I think that's going to be a good game. And South Carolina and LSU, they played an awesome game last year, and I think you're going to have more of that this year. And just for the hell of it, I put games around the 3-3-0 YSU, as I mentioned, at North Dakota. Kent hosts UMass. They're finally not playing all the juggernauts in college football. Akron hosts Miami of Ohio, and Mount Union, who's the number 2 team in Division II, will take on Wilmington, which is also an Ohio school. But Greg, thoughts on some of the best games of week 7, and if there's any games not on that list that you want to mention too?
Yeah, so that obviously the Indiana-Oregon game. I think last year, remembering Indiana coming into the Horseshoe undefeated, a lot of excitement. And I think Kurt Cignetti admitted after that game that they maybe weren't quite ready for that moment, that crowd, that pressure. They're getting another opportunity to go into a similar environment at Outson Stadium coming off a bye. So I'm really interested in that game. It's hard to I didn't watch that Indiana-Illinois game, so I don't have a good feel for how good Indiana is. I did watch that Oregon-Penn State game, and that's looking a little bit like Ohio State-Texas now. Is that as good of a win as it looked at the time? I think I'd be surprised if Indiana wins that game, but I think they will be ready for the moment more than they were last year. Red River rivalry, always a good one, always a fun one to watch. Texas is favored in that game. I did see something like Mateer might try to play that game.
Oh, wow.
Obviously a complete must-win for Texas if they want to salvage anything out of their season. So interested to see how that plays out. But keeping an eye on if Mateer, tries to gut that out. You called Michigan USC. I mean, that's just obviously we hate Michigan, but if you're a college football fan, Michigan and USC is just a great traditional matchup.
Uniform game too.
Yeah, LA Coliseum at night. Just an awesome setting. Yeah, that'll be a really good game. I don't really know what to expect out of that one either. I just call out Florida's schedule. We talked about it, but Jesus, unbelievable. So they've played South Florida, they played Miami, they played LSU, they played Texas. Now they play Texas A&M, and I don't think it gets much easier for them because they got Georgia, they got Florida State. Unbelievable schedule. So, everybody's shitting on Texas, and I get it. Like, I don't know that they should have dropped from number 9 that completely out of the top 25 because Florida is the best 2 and 3 team, imaginable. So. And then one game that's just a fun Friday night game that's not on there that I think might go a long way to see who gets that group of 5 spot in the playoff is South Florida going to North Texas in a game that is expected to be a shootout because the over-under is 68.5. But you got 4-1 South Florida with their only loss to Miami going to play 5-0 North Texas. So that'll be a fun one too. But good little week of football. Again, some really good games. And again, we always talk about it's nice having you got Red River. Oh, Red River's at 3:30. Okay. So I was like, you do have Alabama, Missouri too. That's one that's, so you got Ohio State, Illinois, Alabama, Missouri in that noon window. You got Red River and you got Indiana, Oregon at the 3:30 window. And then you have your Michigan, USC and your LSU, South Carolina nightcap. So, we always talk about having a nice good day of games throughout the day, and we have them. So should be a lot of fun.
That's my only downside to attending some college football games is you kind of miss out on the Notre Dame game. I haven't even looked, but I'm assuming it's a 3:30 kick. That's just what Notre Dame does. if it's not a night
It
game.
is. It is.
So like you kind of miss out a little bit on that first window and then a little bit on that second window. But, again, it's college football. That's the experience is worth everything. It's
One thing, like Alabama at Missouri, Alabama 2.5-point favorites on the road in Missouri. Like that's kind of a ratty line.
I got Missouri at 3.5. So I jumped on Missouri at 3.5. And I did see that got bet down a little bit. Another spread that one game I'll say that you mentioned that I did bet already. I did take the North Texas money line. I just took the money line. I think were a 1-point favorite or 1-point dog. And I got the over at 64. I think it's at 68.5 right now.
Yeah, so, that's interesting.
That is going, if you like football, if you like a lot of scoring, as Greg mentioned, Friday night, North Texas and South Florida. That's going to be a hell of a game, I think. So a lot of good stuff on tap once again. It's just like college football never disappoints.
I think from here on out, like you kind of had all your shitty weeks are kind of gone. So it's like there's going to be something every week from here on out.
Like the team you follow might have like a off week or whatever, but there's going to be a couple bangers every week, like 5 to 10 minimum really, really good games every week, if not a lot more than that. All right, so Greg will like this too, because he's he knows my despise for Grandpa Joe from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. But this week's Big Ten tiers, I came up with a more of like a housing, like a campus life housing theme. So put Ohio State and Oregon at the penthouse suite on top, Indiana, Michigan, and Illinois at their really nice apartment, kind of like just off campus, but like a really nice apartment, really nice house. Kind of like almost like you're adjusting to life after college, but you still got that college life. You got the party houses. These guys can be a lot of fun. You got USC, Nebraska, Washington, Maryland. And then, these teams kind of sharing a 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment with 4 roommates. You got Minnesota, Iowa, Michigan State. Don't know really what to make of them. They could be good sometimes. They might, have some off weeks. Tier 5, the old rundown place that has no working HVAC system, no hot water, barely has electricity. That's your Purdue Boilermakers, your Rutgers, Scarlet Knights, and your Northwestern Wildcats and Wisconsin Badgers, which Wisconsin has at least crept out of the bottom tier here. UCLA, I can't put them in the final bottom tier because they knocked off a formidable foe last week, so they're living on a friend's couch, but at least they're not sleeping with Grandpa Joe. But then you got the Penn State Nittany Lions coming in at tier 7 here. They're recently evicted from their place. They're sharing a bed with Grandpa Joe and 2 other elderly people in a shanty, probably eating like some broth or some
cabbage water. Yeah.
So I know Penn State fans would love if love if James Franklin was evicted from that job, but I don't think they're going to buy him out, and I don't, at least not in season.
Yeah, but, I was going to say that's the only thing you might be hoping for, that $50 million golden ticket so he can dance out of his bed.
Exactly.
But, that's great. That's very well done.
I think I'm going to try to theme these each week. I figured that was a good one with James Franklin. But part of me feels bad for the guy, but like part of me is like, you're getting paid. You're getting paid. You have a great team, and you're not getting the job done. So,
it was kind of this is sometimes guys. Sometimes you get exposed in a situation like this, right? This was the year. They should have been in a national championship game last year. They should have beat Notre Dame in that semifinal game.
Yeah, they blew it.
And they had so much returning, but at the same time, expectation. And again, pointing back to what Ohio State is able to do year in and year out, but expectation can be a very difficult thing to live up to. But again, you don't see what happens necessarily behind the scenes. But man, watching Franklin on the sidelines, both in the Oregon game, but more so in the UCLA game. He just looked like a damn deer in the headlights,
He did.
and just like, he would just look shell shocked, and you're like, what is happening? Some of the clock management late in the first half in that game, when they, were down 3 scores and like
Yeah.
seemingly playing with no urgency, and they did, it was a bad look, a very, very bad look. And players play the games, but you lose a game like that, and there's a lot that's on the coaches.
Yeah, as you go back to your Ryan Day comment from earlier, he always has that team prepared, and Penn State looked fundamentally unprepared in that game. And you might, there's some games where teams might hang around, or you spring an upset against, like, a decent team might spring an upset against a great team, or vice versa. Like a bad team might spring an upset against an okay team, but you don't normally see a really good team get beat by a really bad team. Like, that just doesn't happen very often, and that goes back to coaching. All right, last thing, we're going to close out. Well, we'll do our predictions here in a second, but last thing, college related, but not football, basketball. I just want your opinion on this. College basketball, March Madness is close to the opening round now going to a 12-team format. So instead of a 64-team field, we went to 68, and now it's looking to go to 76, that's a lot of damn teams. So your thoughts on college basketball possibly going to a 76-team field here real soon?
I would simply say why. I just don't understand. Like, I mean, obviously money is a big part of it, but it's like, who sits here and is like, what the NCAA tournament needs? More teams. It's not going to change anything, because the 77th team is still going to be screaming that they should have made it in.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's more to put in your bracket. It's more to place bets on, whatever. But I was never even a fan of the first 4 necessarily. It's fine. It's nothing, like, nobody's going to complain about having more games, I guess. But it's like, the old 64 team field was just fine as it is. And again, like, you could have 160 teams in it, and 161 and 162 is going to be screaming that they got screwed. So it's definitely not going to change that. So I'm just kind of like, I don't get it. I'll take it.
I would just say, like, teams, if you're not, like, in the top whatever, like, you have no argument.
No.
Like, if you're not ranked in the top 25, or if you don't win your conference, and you're a smaller conference, like, you probably don't deserve to get in. And there's an opportunity. There's like 40 some automatic bids, and then, like, the rest get in based on, like, the teams that didn't win their conference but are probably ranked. It's like, there was nothing wrong with the 64. Okay, like you said, the first 4, we'll play those out, and see what happens. That's kind of fun. Bring some money into, I'm sure the city of Dayton loves that from a financial standpoint. But it's like, are we really going to go to 76 and then what, like 84 and then 92? Or, well, it's like, are we going to keep increasing this and increasing? It's like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I don't want to sound like a boomer on that or something, but it's like, there's something to be said of less is more as well. So
you already have teams that are like 19 and 13 or like 18 and 14 getting into the tournament. Like, what, at some point, the regular season has to carry some meaning. So
exactly. All right. Well, let's wrap this up with our predictions. So give me your score prediction for this Saturday: Ohio State at Illinois, 12 noon on Big Noon, which actually means about a 12:15 kick. So your prediction for the game.
These over-unders always look tempting, but then you start to, like, kind of formulate a score, and you're like, man, this is tough. So I'm going to go kind of right on I'm going to go Ohio State 38, Illinois 13. I'm going to unfortunately say our 10-point streak breaks due to maybe a late touchdown, but I'm going to go 38-13. So kind of right on that over-under, with an Ohio State cover. and another comfortable win. I think we'll throw a little more than we did in the Washington game, and we're continuing to kind of give saying more and more trust in the offense to do things. I think we'll see a little bit more of an open game plan, and I'm sticking with we're going to make a big defensive play. I don't know if we'll score a touchdown, but I think we're going to make a huge defensive play at some point in this game to really turn it in our favor.
Okay. All right. My score is similar. I'm going to go 35-10. I do think I'm going to say Illinois does get to double digits this week, but like you said, it'd be nice for the defense to make a big play in this game. And hopefully that 10 is like the last drive of the game. We're up 35-3 and they go down and get a score. But, I like Ohio State to cover, but it's, based on my score, I like the under in this game. But I'm going to stay away from the total from a betting perspective and maybe take the alt line at 13.5. And, that might be something I jump on there just for a little insurance. But yeah, Greg and I both like the Buckeyes to win comfortably and cover this week. So another great weekend of college football coming up. So again, we appreciate you guys watching, listening, all that good stuff. We are a Youngstown Studio production. This is the 330 Sports Show. Make sure to go subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. But we will be on podcast format as well tomorrow. So for Greg, I'm Justin. Everybody have a great weekend, and we will see you guys soon. Go Buckeyes.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. Thank you for your support.